my history teacher was like, well, it started with a good friend of mine in the neighborhood I was living in. He was kind of a popular friend. I was not as well known, and he just was like, "Yo, we're gonna call you Opie because the Andy Griffith Show." And he shared it with the teachers, and everybody started calling me Opie, and I hated it. The first 2 years, I like hated it, like to the point where people would call me like, "What's wrong, Snuffleupagus tree?" Opalopicus or Rumpelstiltskin. Like, I'm just like, why am I getting mad about this? It's stupid. But now to this day, that's kind of what made On Point Opie, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like that. The OP, the On Point itself.
Yeah. Well, because we were sitting there back in 2018, 2019 border, and we're just like, what are we going to call this company? And Heather was like, On Point.
So take me back to that. So 2018. You're looking at the oncoming hemp industry. You're looking at functional mushrooms. I mean, what was really that start for you to get you motivated to start a company?
It started with Heather working at Discover CBD as one of the employees at his 2 stores. I realized that the prices for hemp products it's like $150 for CBD tincture, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, this was before the whole like pump of biomass of like 2020, 2021.
I was like, this is too expensive because there's a lot of people out there that can't afford their medicine to be that. I mean, it's not affordable.
Absolutely, especially with it not even being THC, but just CBD, where like that is truly a functional medicine for people. It has a role, and it was like $200 for a little vial.
1,500 milligrams. That's when I launched the 5,000 milligram tincture with Doc Dabs back in the day, and we kept our price at $80, and they did pretty well. I still actually have that SKU, the CBG, the CBN, and the CBD 5,000 milligram, which is made from isolate, so it's friendly for everyone because it doesn't have the full spectrum. But I wanted to start this because I wanted to like literally, why would anybody pay this much money for something that they don't know much about? A lot of people are thinking it's a placebo. The longest time people are like, oh, it's just another thing, you know, just like, well, no, actually the endocannabinoid system, we've been knowing about this since, we used to feed a lot of our livestock with hemp, and anti-inflammatory issues were not a huge thing in the early 1900s. People were dying of like colds and da-da-da-da. Nowadays, it's just like people are the inflammatory is everybody has problems with that, you know, then we take pills for it. Which, that definitely launched us off for that. It was just concerning because I was like, there's like a list of like 15 people back then. And I'm like, I was like, damn, am I going to get in trouble?
Yeah, looking around being like, I've got the cannabis leaf on my product. I'm telling people this has cannabis in it. I'm selling it and hoping for the best. Because this was really, really early days of legal hemp sales, not on the clothing or rope or that side, but on the, hey, here's cannabis for you to consume. It's going to impact your body. And this is legal.
Yeah, no, it was strange at first because it's like when you have, well, it was a big, huge list of people now. It's just like there's not just people looking at just 15 entities. They're looking at now a mass spectrum. There's a sea of distributors now and producers, and it kind of made me a little nervous, like I was being watched. But I realized I was doing something good in the community. A lot of people are starting to realize that, which is cool. I liked being part of like the beginning process. I wasn't a big player like, you know, like Retro or
yeah, I mean, you had like Superior up in Duluth with our buddy. You know, you had a couple other companies operating throughout Minnesota, but I agree with you. There was a lot of people growing for seed or fiber or maybe more on the industrial side. Not as many people that were cultivating those early days for the flower, for the cannabinoids.
Yeah, your friend Kurt
absolutely.
Who was actually, I was pretty much grabbing flower from him back in 2019. Me and a good friend of mine, Sarah Pena, helped me out meeting up with him, and he actually helped me push forward with my business along with Justin Stroud of 419.
Okay, yeah. Wow. See, and some of these names, shout out Kurt, but also 419 was one of those shops that I remember when they first opened. It was inside of a tobacco shop. You walked in and there was like a little corner. And I remember walking in for the first time and being like, these are pre-rolls of cannabis. There's jars of like grams that I can buy. and I'm just like looking around and I'm like, I'm on Lake Street. I don't know. Is this allowed?
The T2 strain.
Yeah. Yeah. That start of this entire thing. Like now it's crazy thinking about how we're on Payne Street right now. And there's probably 15 shops along here that sell some sort of cannabis product.
Yeah,
and back in the day, you were one of 15 in maybe the state.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's funny too, because like when our government allowed cannabis sales everywhere, doing in sales, I'm at hair salons, nail salons. I was specifically going after hair and nail salons because I'm like, dude, where am I going to consume cannabis? Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Yeah.
And it's like grocery stores. Now we're at movie theaters. Yeah, it's
cool having people from Colorado come to Minnesota and look around and be like, you guys sort of have weed everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're not all the way there yet, but weed, I think, are so much more engulfed in, there's legal cannabis at basically every restaurant you go to. And that's fun. Not the normal in our country.
Ever since that happened, it's funny because a lot of my family members would refer it as like dope.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, it's just another plant, you know, It's just cannabis. And honestly, it's no different than taking ibuprofen 800. Just another supplement.
So here's a question for you. You graduated from Hopkins, if I recall correctly.
Hopkins High School.
Yeah. So you went to high school with Tommy Thorpe from Granny's. You went to high school with Aaron Morrison of Superior. What was in the water of your guys' high school to lead to like the generation that's leading cannabis forward in Minnesota? Like you guys were all in social studies together, just like chilling out, not knowing that later on you'd be the one selling to breweries and liquor stores and distributors and all of that.
That's really funny because honestly, majority of I was an early user. I was prescribed ADD and diagnosed ADD, and I self helped myself out along with taking some of the medications. And it was just, it's funny because like we were stoned a lot of high school. Nothing fully wrong with that. I probably should have waited, but it was.
I think we legally have to say you're supposed to wait. But
supposed to wait. Yeah. I really wish we had the situation now because back then we were getting stuff that you never knew you were going to smoke. Some of the days I seriously feel like I was having heart palpitations. It was. You never know if it was laced or not.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was a lot of Hopkins High School. There's a lot of go-getters, honestly. A lot of classmates in my 09 class are doing a lot of really cool, big things. I'm just really happy to be somewhat a part of that. I didn't honestly know that this was going to happen. I mean, I didn't know this was going to turn into a career. A lot of people did speculate that they're like, oh, you know, Opie's worked with cannabis his whole life. He'll probably do that as a career and then potentially go to jail. And I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. The most likely to end up in prison for distributing narcotics was you in high school. That was in the yearbook and everything. Yeah. No. I'm just kidding. No. But yeah, no, I agree with you where I think if you could go back and tell yourself, hey, you're going to be, you know, in the cannabis business, but you'll be paying taxes on that and you'll be like reporting it and you'll be really proud of this business that you're posting about on Instagram or on your website or whatever. And it's not something where you have to just know a guy to know a guy.
No, totally.
But it's about sharing this cool product that you're able to make.
It's just crazy because I really wish I can get some of that same skunky flower from back in the day. Yeah. You don't have stuff that sticks to the walls or like you like have to like fry bacon in your apartment to like get rid of this THC smell in the entire hallway.
Yeah, the double bag inside of a bag and being like, I can still smell that and just being like, this isn't cool. Oh man. But man, was that cool.
Like I'm talking like the reddest of reddest eyes. But yeah, I started with mushrooms in like 2016 after graduating from MCTC in 2015 with herbalism, yoga teaching, and welding, ceramics, Native American studies with Patricia Amo and Paul Red Elk, Rick Gretchick. And I biggest passion is herbalism and fungi, but I realized that a lot of the city back in 2018, 2019, it wasn't really fully ready for mushrooms yet. Mm-hmm. I keep having to explain it and explain and explain. It's just like, it's hard to explain mushrooms and CBD products, because still to the day, like back then, it's like trying to explain CBN. People are just like, you explain it and you're like, I feel like it just goes out one ear out the other.
You can see their eyes glass over.
And I'm like, as I'm trying to explain this in some of these storefronts, they're just like, what? Let me rephrase it one more time. And I'm really happy that there's more people educating this. At first, when I saw all these companies doing, I'm like, competition, oh crap. But it's a good thing, because honestly, it's having more people explain what processes are, and the growth of this industry is really important for our city, for our country.
Yeah, it's been an interesting shift to watch, even over just the past couple of years. Because I met you for the first time at a Canna Connect event. You were like, hey, functional mushrooms are the way to go. And I was like, this is new to me. I've not seen this really before integrated into the cannabis scene as directly as your products are. But you really, and the industry has come forward to show, cannabis is about finding products that help you to live your life in a way that you want to live it. And mushrooms really aren't that different. Sure, it's a different plant, different fungi, different organism, but the way that we are seeking to use it really isn't that different than cannabis. Tell me a little bit about some of the products that you have, and I mean, so how do you talk to people about them?
We started with our orange infused and purple chocolate bars that have THC mushrooms collabed with it, with Gabriel of Loon Labs.
Yeah.
He helped me kind of launch my idea off into a real situation. Before that, I was just kind of co-packing with Clement with like maple candies, co-packing with Kurt for flowers. And then I finally was like, hey, let's try to do this mushroom gummies, which honestly, mushroom extracts with binding all these molecules together, we were having some hiccups. I finally figured it out. We have a very, very stable gummy. It actually doesn't taste bitter.
That's cool.
The flavors are really nice. These ones we're looking at right now is CBN with CBD, some reishi and chaga. Kind of helps relaxation. Referring to not the cannabis, but the mushrooms, because I don't want to make those claims, obviously.
Yeah, well, and let's, before we jump into this, let's throw this just pile of shit out. We live in a state of Minnesota right now where if you walked into a dispensary in another state and you said, hey, how is this product going to affect me? They'd be able to say, oh, this terpene profile has been shown to be energizing in most people. This has, mushrooms that studies show help with this.
Yep.
We're binded, like we're wearing handcuffs, because as a cannabis product, a hemp-derived cannabis product in Minnesota, you're not allowed to describe it functioning or it altering the function, process, or any mechanism of the human body. Yep. So in essence, if you were to say, this is a gummy you can take at night, that's totally approved. But if you say, this is a gummy that will help you sleep, that would not be approved in Minnesota. So we live in this like weird in-between of, I see products oftentimes that have like nighttime blend on them, suggesting to the consumer exactly what you're supposed to use it for. But as a seller of a cannabis product, you're not supposed to actually, which is insane.
Have you ever taken CBN in the middle of the day?
Not successfully. I've definitely sampled a couple CBN gummies during the day, and like an hour or two later was like, oh man, my brain is going like half the speed. And
hey, some of us need us some days,
Yeah, totally. And it has its role. And that's what I think is cool, is being able to live in a state where we can try these cannabinoids. It's just silly that we live in a time where I can say I took CBN and it made me feel sleepy. But if I'm at a table selling you a product with CBN in it, I can't say that.
It's complicated.
Yeah. So, but putting that aside, talking about the mushrooms that are in that, tell me a little bit more about
100%
that indica blend.
fungi.
Yeah.
Essentially, I mean, chaga and reishi have been used in traditional Chinese medicine for many generations.
Yeah.
And it's Ganoderma, reishi Ganoderma. Our skin is Ganoderma. We're very, very similar related to this lovely fungi. Many different variants of reishi. I wanted to make essentially a supplemental product that people can, get a little stoned off of, and also get mental clarity, health and wellness, and a potential aid for relaxation. The balanced one right here has functioning adaptogenics with turkey tail, maitake, cordyceps, and lion's mane, which I made this for a dear friend of mine who had Crohn's disease. Passed away not too long ago, David Roti, dear friend. It's actually what helped me start my, it's not necessarily a nonprofit, but me donating products to cancer patients to help them through their process with chemo. It's rough, but, and then our lion's mane cordyceps, energized gummy, which referring to cordyceps,
Yeah, for sure.
is, really helps with blood oxygen intake in your body. So taking a high dose of Cordyceps militaris and then running up a mountain in Colorado, you're going to be like, holy crap.
Yeah. And I have to say, so I've not really been a functional mushroom user until that day that I met you. And you're like, try this. And it was that orange chocolate. And I remember eating it and being like, yeah, that tastes pretty good. And thinking like, all right, 5 milligrams probably won't affect me a bunch. And it was maybe like 4 hours later when it's like 11:30 at night. And I'm like, man, I'm just feeling like I just sort of want to do stuff.
Production.
Like, I don't want to go to bed. I just want to go and clean. And just like that energy I had not felt from a cannabis product in an edible form ever before. It was really an interesting experience for me.
I lay all that reliability right onto the mushrooms.
Yeah.
They're great. And like, honestly, in the Last of Us, we are warm-blooded. We're not cold-blooded. If we did have inklings of fungi, cordyceps going into warm-blooded creatures, we could be in potential problems. I mean, we could also be completely parasitized.
Yeah, because that's sort of what we were talking about before this. Is I'm pretty certain that at some point between you graduating and going, I want to make weed products, to the moment that you were like, and mushroom products, you were taken over by cordyceps. It's just like somewhere in your central nervous system saying, we got to figure out how to put this into pectin.
Yeah.
And here we go.
I think I was parasitized when I was in the Pacific Northwest.
There we go. Yeah, that's fair.
We were out, me and my mom and my fiance, Heather, also a business owner in On Point. We have some family in Spokane, Washington. We go hang out up in northern Cali, and cordyceps over there are very prevalent. I mean, they're parasitizing lots of creatures out there, not just ants, but like caterpillars.
Wow. Yeah, it's
bees,
some gnarly
tarantulas.
things to see. It's I think it's so cool, and there is some slight differentiation between the cordyceps that go into gummies and the ones that are actively taking over ants, but they're pretty cool.
We are using Cordyceps militaris, which
wow,
is,
all right, yeah, so that's the guy.
That's one that parasitizes caterpillars and such. Mind you, we have still yet to find any cordy's in Minnesota. They've found traces in Michigan in the UP, but it's weird because cordy's are everywhere. It's just, why haven't we found them in Minnesota yet? I've definitely been checking around for the past 10 plus years, and I've never seen any evidence. It's really fascinating though how a simple fungi can essentially get people or get insects to just completely take over their body. It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Just really happy we're warm-blooded.
Yeah. You can eat it in a gummy. You don't have to have it take over your brain.
And nowadays there's a whole bunch of brands on Amazon and online. I'm not going to refer to their names because it's taking away from my business, but there's a whole bunch of drug supplements, and honestly just being very careful what you're consuming, because some products are made from essentially mycelium, which is not necessarily the worst situation, but if you're going to consume mushy products, I would say the best thing to do is using the actual fruiting body. I mean, you're not going to smoke the stem on your flower.
Exactly.
It's,
you're looking for the effects of the fruit. It's not going to be
it's strong.
Yeah.
But I do some stuff with R&R cultivation, so they help me with a lot of getting my fungi to actually process it to make concentrates. But honestly, helping with them back in 2018, I wouldn't have known as much as I do with tissue cultures and cultivation in a lab setting, other than just outside forest floor. Because it's new still, even though it's been around for generations. We still have no idea what's going on here. A lot of the most knowledgeable individuals are over in Japan and in China, who I don't know why we're so stuck on medications here and supporting a system that is taking our money away instead of actually fixing the problem, instead of putting the Band-Aid on.
And I think it rhymes so closely with cannabis, where for the longest time, the research on, or high quality research on cannabis wasn't taking place in America because it wasn't really allowed. And similarly, I think functional mushrooms, along with psychoactive mushrooms, have been so long pushed to the side of, nah, that's creepy crawly plant things. We don't put that into our body. We eat like the pills because those are safe and from a sterile setting, without recognizing that actually probably the creepy crawly plant things are better for you than taking some white powder substance in a pill form.
I mean, in other countries, I mean, if you ever go to like Mexico or anywhere in Europe, I mean, it's pretty normal to be even eating bugs on the side of the street. Here, people get weirded out. It's we need to like step away from people thinking things are weird and just try it.
No, I'm gonna ask you to put fungi on a little spectrum. So I'm a vegetarian. I would say I don't really like to eat anything that has a face or a mother.
Oh, this is definitely alive.
Yeah, so that's from like we've got like vegetables over here that are like alive, but like probably don't scream when you cut them, at least not in the way that I can hear. You've got like sourdough that like you got to feed and like lives in your fridge.
Also a part of a fungi.
So can I tell people I'm a vegetarian if I eat your products? I'm just kidding.
It's complicated because honestly, with even research going on right now and finding out how plants communicate with each other, we're just like,
when I heard that plants can scream to each other, it really tore apart a lot of my like understanding as a person of like, oh wait, that thing might be feeling pain when I chop off its leaves and eat them.
100%. I mean, you could definitely see a huge difference when you go into a grow and you just like go in there with it, you just sing to them, you know. And everybody's pretty happy. And the same thing goes in mushroom farms. I mean, honestly, what I would always do is I'd play classical music while I was harvesting when I was working at that mushroom farm.
That's really cool.
I mean, it's calming for myself, but like I'm like literally taking these mushrooms off of a block with the blade, and I'm just severing them into plastic totes, and we're gonna feed a lot of people in Minnesota. Through the Wedge, Trader Joe's, Lake Winds, just all the co-ops, and it's interesting because it's like this is a living organism. It can't talk to me, but honestly, if we were able to speak to each other, I'm really curious what it would say to me.
Yeah,
eat me, or like please don't eat me. But same thing goes in the forest floor. When I'm walking around for morel season, even chanterelle season, they're all over, and they sometimes if I find them underneath my feet, and I even without even looking, they're just like pick me. It's another way of them spreading their spores. Yes, but
and that's what I want to get into right after a short break. We'll be right back. Attention, all Minnesota cannabis lovers. Put down your joint, bong, vaporizer, or whatever else you're currently holding while you're listening to your favorite podcast, and mark your calendar for the second annual Doobie Dabbler Cannabis Festival, happening September 5th and 6th at Seavers Fall Festival Grounds in Shakopee. This 2-day festival is a cannabis lover's dream, featuring over 100 acres of vendors, artisans, industry pro seminars, live music, food trucks, and the wackiest and wildest activities your stoned imagination can come up with. Doobie Dabbler is the can't-miss cannabis party of the year. Come join thousands of your newest buddies in celebration of the ever-growing Minnesota cannabis culture at Seavers Fall Festival Grounds in Shakopee, September 5th and 6th for the 2025 Doobie Dabbler. Tickets and more available at doobiedabbler.com. Doobie Dabbler, Minnesota's great green get-together. Must be 21 years of age or older to attend. Powered by the teams behind Beer Dabbler, Berris Joy, and Hunt Atkins. All right, so not many people know this, but prior to working in the cannabis industry, I actually was a middle school teacher. I'm just kidding. I talk about that all the time. But over the pandemic, the state of Minnesota Department of Agriculture put together some really cool tours of different farms or greenhouses to show students, here's what a workplace looks like. I get you're not at a workplace right now, but this is what it looks like. And R&R Cultivation, who you mentioned earlier, was the mushroom farm sponsor. and they let the state come in and really preview what their grow rooms look like.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I highly recommend if people have never seen like what a mushroom farm looks like, go check that out. It's a really cool video. But you were talking about something entirely different than that, which is not the mushrooms that grow on a rack in a very sterile, clean, humidified environment, but outside in the state of Minnesota. We're coming up to the season where mushroom picking is really going to be fruitful. What are some of the things that you'll be looking for in Minnesota that others should not look for so they can leave it for you?
Honestly, just getting in the woods, touching the soil. Bring a thermometer with you. Make sure you bring a couple extra joints because you might be out there a little longer. But
maybe a pack of some energized gummies.
Yeah, and making sure you're safe away from ticks because and mosquitoes. But I typically do tree identification and plant identification and seeing kind of where mushrooms grow there's a certain like habitat for them. Last year we were really dry in spring. So I was looking for just like very small microbiomes, like underneath, like leaves and such.
Yeah, trapped under a little.
Yeah, and
pockets.
this year I'm fingers crossed we're going to be a little more wet this year, and I'm hoping that it's going to be very fruitful. But honestly, the mycelium is all underneath us. I mean, it's constantly stirring, and honestly, it was kind of strange last year because a lot of mushroom sightings were in people's gardens in Northeast, which was very, very bizarre. I mean, we went to a trip in Spokane, Washington for an entire week to go to burn sites. We found a couple 5-gallon buckets. It's usually way huge holes. Stopped through Missoula, Montana. I'm looking at a tulip garden. There's like 8 morels sitting right there. I'm just like, huh. Good friends like, wow, how did you just find that? And I'm like, well, they just like kind of just like were waving to me, Yeah. But it's really hard because honestly, I've had years where I've went to like Missouri for an entire 2 weeks, literally trying to find specific genuses of morels because there's multiple. And we go out there and I didn't find a single one. I mean, it happens. And some people, they get discouraged, but just keep going and keep hiking and getting yourself in nature, making sure you turn the music off and just listen. Because the trees are talking to you, the plants, the animals. You're in their habitat, and it's you're definitely welcome. The mushrooms want you to pick them, I feel like, but
yeah. So there's this great book that I read a while back that the whole premise of it was, are we domesticating plants, or have plants domesticated us? Like, we'll cut down acres and acres of trees just to grow more wheat, and man, it sure seems like wheat has domesticated us. Do you think you pick mushrooms because you independently want to go and pick that mushroom? Or do you think after years of just being taught by the mushrooms, hey, pick me, now you've been domesticated?
I think I'm here for the mushrooms.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's super fair.
It's strange because it's like when you go into the hunt, it's so exhilarating to the point where I'll set my mushroom knife down and then I'll like, wait, where'd I put it? Like you just get so off track. That's like they always say in the Mycology Society, they always say to bring a tracker on you and to like drop a pin where your car is because you'll be hiking. And next thing you know, you thought you were walking north, but like, wait, where am I? If you don't know the woods. I mean, I've gotten lost a few times in some pretty interesting trails, especially if you don't have any cell service. We were in the Ozarks, me and Heather, and that was pretty intense. It started raining really heavily and found a lot of fungi. But like I've been studying mushrooms for 15 plus years, and I still see mushrooms on the forest floor. I have no idea what it is. I mean, I've seen it in the past. It definitely is in books, but there's not as much evidence, or there's not as much information on it. Yes, you could eat a lot of the fungi in here in the Twin Cities. There's not many that are going to kill you, but some might give you gastrointestinal problems. I love chicken of the woods, but whenever I consume it, it gives me a gut ache the next day.
Okay,
or
totally.
Like I get gassy. Everybody's body is different with different fungi. It's weird because I have relatives who is allergic to Agaricus bisporus, which is the button mushroom. It's like the kind of slimy mushrooms you see in some traditional Chinese dishes. And when I present like oysters to him or lion's mane, they don't affect him so so some fungi have different components to it, higher amounts of chitin or other chemicals in there. But it's kind of crazy because honestly, I feel like some of this fungi honestly puts defense mechanisms on themselves so they don't get eaten. But at the same time, it's like, do you want to be eaten? Do you not want to be? Like,
I want you to spread my spores, but maybe don't touch me. So I have a question for you. I think Minnesota is really ahead in terms of our understanding of minor cannabinoids. Like you go to places that have been legal for a decade, and their understanding of CBG, CBN, some of the minor ones, isn't really as fleshed out and developed. I'd like to believe that Minnesota is sort of on the forefront of functional mushrooms just by having our hemp industry sort of grow up in the way that it has. Have you seen other state industries adapt to functional mushrooms? What has the reception been?
I want to say
markets?
California and Oregon are pretty way more ahead of us because they honestly have a mushroom season for an entire almost 9 months.
Okay, yeah.
We have 3 months here to 4 months. Yes, our cannabis system here, the cannabinoids in Minnesota, I feel like we've been actually like pushing this and showing samples to other states. Now we have like New York offering cannabis at like potential movie theaters, which I'm just like, what? It's great. People should be able to buy cannabis anywhere. I remember 5 years down the road, you'd have to just go to a store, give them your ID. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing with my information. Mm-hmm. Like, what is the city doing with my driver's license? I don't know. But it's interesting because honestly, even doing sales now, I go out of state and I try to explain other cannabinoids. People are like, what? I'm like, you guys have had cannabis way longer than Minnesota has. And we're rec, but it's still
it's
weird
rec-ish.
Here.
Yeah.
And you go to most cannabis stores and they have just pure CBD, CBG, or CBN. Where are the other cannabinoids? Why aren't we actually educating more about this? Why are we just trying to get people super high and just like not? I mean, don't get me wrong. Getting really stoned is cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But the thing is, like, there's more to it. There's more to the plant. I mean, not just that. Like, don't throw away your leaves when you're doing trimming. Maybe throw them in the freezer, blanch them later, throw them in a smoothie. I mean, there's a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals. Yeah, and proteins.
I tried juicing cannabis leaves one time, and it's
pretty bitter.
Wrong. Yeah, yeah. It's I would love to imagine that inside of that little green, dark, thick green beverage, there was probably a lot of really good stuff for me.
Oh yeah,
but oh man, that flavor.
I typically mix it with kale myself.
So every single person that I've told this story to went, "You drank it straight?" And I went, yeah, like I wanted to like try it, and they're like, I wouldn't do that.
We do kale and a bunch of genetics of tomatoes every year. Last year we did like 16 different variants of tomato plants on my side.
Love that.
And then I had my 2 pretty large bushes. I was doing some like roadkill and a couple skunk strains that we snagged seeds from Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. We took those leaves and we literally made kale chips with also cannabis, and you dehydrated those in the oven, and it was really tasty with a little bit of olive oil on there and some pink Himalayan sea salt.
See, and I could see that being so
that nice
good.
Crunch.
Yeah, like for so long in high school, my goal was, how can I make edibles that don't taste like weed? Like I just really want this to taste like a brownie, and now I'm high. And I feel like now that we have gummies everywhere that taste like everything but weed, it's sort of like now I'm sort of on the other end of, how can I take this trim that I have from growing and use this in a way that maybe I'd actually really enjoy? I don't like straight arugula, but in a salad, in a blend, it's really good. And I'd like to believe there's some role.
There was something special about having that green butter in the fridge back in the day.
Yeah.
You just like take a scoop out of it and you just smear it on your toast. And it's just like, I always like, I love focaccias and sourdoughs. So you just take that warm green butter on top of a sourdough, and it just looked kind of ominous, but it was super tasty and herbal.
Yeah, very herbal. Yeah,
very herbal.
And that's it took me a long time to have that flavor not be like, oh, but I mean,
Do you know of any brands that are having more herbal forward
No,
cannabis?
in fact, there were a couple in the early days. There was a live resin gummy, in fact, by our friends at Moonlight that really had sort of like a terpy flavor to it. But I think the industry has sort of shifted towards, we want it to taste like blue raspberry or Baja Blast or whatever.
Yeah, I don't mind the bitterness. I mean, honestly, bitters are really good for our blood flow. So, like, maybe we should start coming out with some more THC tasting edibles.
I wouldn't hate that. When we did our beverage, we added terpenes into it because I thought for so long beverages just don't really taste like weed. And I'd have people say, this gummy tastes like weed. And I'd be like, no, it fucking doesn't. Like, you clearly don't know what that tastes like if you think that little bit of bitter aftertaste is, oh, no, that's weed. It's like, well, maybe. Well, Opie, I got a question for you. As you're looking forward to the future of our industry, what is it that you're looking to find your role in? I think if we were to go back to 2018 and I said, what are you going to do in hemp? You probably wouldn't have pictured being the wholesaler, distributor, the guy who makes gummies and chocolates and beverages and all of that, showing the functional and the applicable side of mushrooms and cannabis. What do you think is what's next for you?
I don't know. Honestly, to be fully honest,
That's
I'm
fair.
kind of nervous about it.
Mm-hmm.
With cannabis taking over, it makes me. I just feel like it's a money game right now, and we're losing touch of why we all did this in the beginning. Why did we start our CBD companies? Obviously, we wanted cash. There's money in it, 100%. But the real reason is, I feel like a lot of us are doing this because we want to help out our fellow man next to us. We want to help out our neighbors, and the further and further I go into this corporate side of cannabis now, because it is getting very corporate.
Oh, yeah.
I'm losing the touch of how does this make you feel?
Yeah.
I'm more like, hey, when can I get a paycheck from these stores? And it's like, it kills me because I'm just like, when I first started this, I was like constantly just like one-on-one conversations with a lot of clients trying to just like, hey, how can I make this help you? I want you, like my grandparents even, like getting them off of taking ibuprofen 800s on a daily basis. How can I get you to start taking 5 milligrams of CBD with 2.5 milligrams of THC to maybe have you take ibuprofen maybe twice a week? I understand, carpal tunnel and being older and having muscle spasms, but that's literally why we're like, there's a lot of clinicals with some of these things helping with pain. And I'm just really hoping that when we move forward with this, people don't lose touch of what we did this for in the start.
Yeah.
It's money is evil as hell. I love it, but it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. We can go back to, I remember being on a phone call, where they were debating, is D8 really good for our industry? And having, my buddy Sean Weber, say on the phone call, I can get people in medical need of cannabis this compound but much, much cheaper than what people are getting other products for. And is it perfect? No, but I'm here to help people find wellness in cannabis. And I wonder,
was crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And I'm so curious to see what the mindset is coming into the next chapter of as we're creating a whole new slew of adult use products, making them available to people for the first time ever. I've never smoked weed before. This will be exciting, being able to go to a store and buy it.
Yeah. I have 20 milligrams of THC derived edibles without having other cannabinoids in there. It usually gives me anxiety. But when I mix the cannabinoids together, I feel pretty good with it.
Yeah.
Still to this day. And I eat a lot of THC edibles throughout the day, but honestly, I just wish, I really hope people don't forget about the other cannabinoids. I don't see it happening that way because honestly, hemp is huge. You go to Florida, you go to Illinois, there's still CBD stores all around the cannabis stores, completely different marketplaces. And I don't know.
It will be very interesting to see, especially with, I think the lay consumer just understanding this is a THC gummy. That's what they walk away with. And yeah, I agree with you. I hope that that's not the future. I hope that that's the stepping stone to our potential future.
It's just it's super interesting because like when we allowed liquor stores to start selling this stuff, I remember going to liquor stores literally the second day that they got offered, and everybody's like, I don't know if that's gonna work. And now I'm like, some of these store owners, they're literally getting an entire wall of cannabis now, and I'm like, dude, you put your fist so far in your mouth.
Yeah, there was a great quote in the paper the other day by a liquor shop owner who said, "Yeah, THC has really cut down on my beer sales, but I make more money on THC, so
I like
okay."
that.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's a lot of studies showing that a lot of younger adults are consuming cannabis instead of alcohol, and it's and that too going into also functioning fungus. People are starting to, just try things, and I'm excited for it. It's
I went to a party last week from some people that were a bit younger than me, but a housewarming party. And it was the first time that I showed up and there was like 1 or 2 people drinking beer and a lot of people with the THC seltzers. And it's like, I like this. I'm really happy with this. I think if that's the direction that we as a society move,
I feel like it's going to make people a little happier, honestly. I mean,
so.
alcohol is a depressant. It's not really, it's just kind of putting a Band-Aid on the eternal situation. Like, it's what America does, is put Band-Aids on things instead of actually fixing the problem, running it head on. I was at a party not too long ago too, and I saw most people with THC products versus liquor, which I found to be, I was just like, wow. Usually like after 2:00 in the morning, this place is like rowdy as hell and everybody's screaming at each other. But now it's like everybody's just like passing out at 12:00.
Yeah, there's a lot of laughing. It's not terrible.
Our last bong show, we had people couldn't stay past 1:00 at the Hook and Ladder. It was super funny.
I love that. See, and that's so much better than it's 2 p.m. bar closed. You got people stumbling out. I think cannabis is such a positive step forward.
I'm going to go lay down instead,
right.
instead of breaking things.
So on the beverage side, we talked about your gummies, we talked about the chocolates, but you've been drinking a root beer throughout this show. For people listening to the audio version, it's a really cool can.
This is a rooted
Tell me a little
root
bit more about that.
It's a rooted brand. We're actually coming out with a couple new drinks here soon. It's very, very soon. It's essentially mixing roots with reishi and chaga. It's a collaboration with Earl Giles. They helped me make this idea together, and Dan Long helped me formulate it as well. We've had some success with this. It's definitely not your everyday root beer. It's more of a tonic. It's not bitter. It's more citrus forward, more orange forward. It's been a crowd pleaser, honestly.
That's
really
really
nice. We're in the process of doing full print cans as well, which is it's scary, expensive, but I'm realizing this is going to be probably around the market for a while. Taking the sticker off and putting a full label.
There you go. I love that. You're not going anywhere. We'll be here.
And honestly, with the whole cannabis going in, I'm going to stay with mushrooms and hemp. I'll do some cannabis stuff with Sam Milstein, a partner of mine, but I don't want people to lose touch of the medicine side.
I dig it.
And that's why I'm people want to get high 100%, but there's also a lot of people that need the medicine.
Yeah.
Need, want, crave.
Well, and we're going to have a lot of towns that have dispensaries popping up, but we're going to have way more towns that don't, but that do have a liquor store that can't sell adult use products, but will continue selling hemp. We will still have a hemp state. So I think happy you're sticking around. That's for sure.
Look at Illinois. It's the same situation.
Yeah, absolutely. We're finding that the future is this coexistence of multiple different cannabis industries all sort of being in this bubble together, which makes sense.
Good, honestly. I'm seeing people at some events that I would never ever think would ever use cannabis ever, and they're using it because they're doing it. So why not? I try it.
Yeah,
and I'm just happy we're pushed out the THCO, the THCP, all those other cannabinoids that are literally sending people into chaos. They're like, I'm never eating edibles again. I literally had cold hot sweats all night. I saw tunnel vision. It's just like, oh man, you're consuming the wrong cannabinoids.
Yeah, it's like just because the plant produces it doesn't mean you want to eat it. I love eating apples. I'm not gonna like take their seeds and then extract the arsenic out of it and be like, wow, this is great. No, I'm gonna focus on the good part.
I mean, let me rephrase, not necessarily the wrong cannabinoids. Those are totally fine, but just not for beginner users.
And not in an isolate form at high strength day one. Like it's part of the blend. Add it to the entourage.
I want to say I was at a tobacco store and this older lady comes in. I'm talking like my grandma's mom's age, like way much so older lady. I even opened the door for her, helped her get out of her car, and she was just like, I need to sleep. So she comes in, goes to this place, and the dude gives her torch THCP gummies that were like 8,000 milligrams. And she walks away just happy as a clam in the store. I'm like, dude, you're going to kill her. And he's just like, she wanted THC. I'm like,
Yep. We've come a long way, but we've got a long way left to go. That's for sure.
We do. Honestly, it's, the thing is with the OCM, making people hold themselves accountable. This is important. I mean, it's at first I was a little nervous, because I'm going to have to bend backwards, but I've been bending backwards for a long time. Yeah. With all this.
Yeah. That's what we do in the cannabis industry, right? We
adapt.
Stand on one foot. And
just like fungi.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, so now comes the part of our show where we're going to ask you, what do you have to shout out? I mean, do you have where people want to follow along with you, see you at an event, connect with you online? Where would you send people?
There is a lot of huge events happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's coming up to a pretty busy time of the year for our community.
If we could just have a little more snowfall and maybe relive April again so we don't have to or I mean, I should say March again so we don't have to jump right. But it's Hook and Ladders having their Morale Fest. It's going to be really cool. It's their 7th year. There's, oh my gosh, we're doing some mushroom classes. The Mushroom Block, Tony's doing some stuff. Courtney from Mycosymbiote is doing some really cool stuff as well. They actually have classes where they teach you how to cultivate in-house grows. I mean, you could do this in your basement. Actually, better yet, you could do this out of a mono tub. Super small tub. No one has to know. No smells, no funk. It's not like kombucha where you have fruit flies flying around if you keep your habitat clean.
Yeah.
All you need is literally just a couple fans, a foggy spray machine, and a foggy frogger machine, and you could grow whatever fungi you want. And a lot of fungi are really easy. I mean, cannabis you have to grow for a long period of time. From inoculation to pin sets to full growth of Pleurotus australis, a blue oyster, I mean, I could see fruiting bodies within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And honestly, working with R&R there, we were trying to figure out how to stop food deserts in certain environments. I'm getting off topic, but anyways, mushrooms.
But I think it's so cool. And it really shows that the way that we're thinking about how cannabis and mushrooms can impact our body isn't just down to our actual chemical processing system, but it can really change how we look at the world. We can turn the places that mushrooms can grow and the environments that it can grow in. If you think growing cannabis is easy, mushrooms are made to be the recyclers of our world.
I mean, they're breaking down parts of Chernobyl right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're finding out that we're finding mushrooms growing. This is very new evidence.
Yeah,
they're growing on plastics.
Yeah.
Super small. There's a book writer who wrote Entangled Life. Highly recommend reading this book. Get it on podcast, read it, whatever way you take knowledge in. But this guy is coming up with some crazy, he's found some evidence of plastics being broken down by fungi, which is it's revolutionary.
Yeah. Yeah, the Chernobyl one is interesting as well.
That's
We're seeing them react to the uranium and grow towards it.
Well, because it's a food source.
Yeah. I'm excited for your gummies to come out that have the Chernobyl mushroom in them. I'm just kidding.
Some bioluminescent gummies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Opie, truly, thank you so much for coming in the studio. I love chatting with you every single time, both in front of the camera and just out. Of
course.
So I'm excited to have you back again in the future and we'll see where our industry's at in a year. And
I think it's gonna be good.
Keep talking about mushrooms.
I think it's gonna be fun. Honestly, everybody stick through it. Every one of you guys, consumers, keep consuming. Thank you very much. Buy local.
Yeah.
People out of state, I mean, you're welcome, but like, work with us, man. Yeah. Like, please don't push us out. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in. We'll be right back.